Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina here with a new video for you. In this video, we'll dive into Ash Lynx from the Banana Fish anime. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, just sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, let's get started. If this video gets 19 likes, we will make a part 2 as we couldn't include everything in one video. I would like to give you all a quick warning about what is to come. Banana Fish deals with themes of rape, sexual assault, child murder, human trafficking, and pedophilia. So please click off the video if any of these make you uncomfortable. Now let's get on with the video. Ash is the show's protagonist, and a majority of the show is shown from either his or Eiji's perspective. It follows the group solving the mystery of Banana Fish, the drug that Ash was given coincidentally. Throughout the show, Ash is able to be independent of Golzine and live his own life without being in a shadow. Ash grew up in Cape Cod, a small town near New York. His mother gave him to his father when he was young, but was raised by his half-brother Griffin. When Ash was 6 years old, his brother was sent to fight in Iraq. At 7 years old, Ash was raped by the coach of his baseball team. His dad reported this to the police, but they believed the defendant to be not guilty because he was a big shot in the community. This caused his dad to tell Ash that if it happened again, ask to be paid afterward. Ash is abused multiple times by the same man, but he grabs his dad's gun and shoots him. This was Ash's first kill of many, which started his criminal path. During the investigation, the police found children's bones belonging to many small corpses in the basement of the house. Because of all this, Ash was found not guilty but became the talk of the town as something like this doesn't happen every day in such a small town. Ash's dad decides to send him away to his aunt, but Ash runs away from home before he can do so. He is captured by a child trafficking ring for prostitution, run by Dino Golzine, a famous mafia don from New York. He learned to use his charisma to entice customers, which also caught the eye of Golzine himself. He decides to keep him to himself as a personal sex slave while also training him to become a member of the upper class. Along with this, he got the best education money could buy. This included getting trained by Blanca, one of the best teachers for hand and fire combat. At age 14, Ash fell in love with the girl, but she is killed before any progress is made. He is then sent to juvenile detention for killing 3 people. Here he meets Shorter Wong, his best friend who leads a Chinese gang in Manhattan. Around the age of 15 or 16, Ash finds Griffin in a rundown hospital for veterans and decides to take care of him himself. As of the beginning of the show, Ash is a 17-year-old gang leader who's both admired and feared in Manhattan. Ash is 5'11", and he has bright blonde hair as well as green eyes and pale skin, which makes him very beautiful. He typically wears a white t-shirt, blue jeans, a brown belt, and red sneakers. He wears glasses when reading, which implies that he's farsighted. Ash is very aware of his attractiveness and uses it as a weapon to gain information and as a way to surprise attack his victims. He is also underestimated by his appearance, which he also uses to get the advantage over enemies. Ash is able to gather multiple gangs under his influence, which demonstrates his skills and talent as a leader. He is incredible in combat, but is also very intelligent, his IQ being 200. He is quite well read as he is able to navigate daily columns in newspapers and political novels, which is odd as he didn't finish middle school. Despite his influence over others, Ash is very distrustful and keeps everyone's at arm's length, the exception being those in his close circle. He isn't afraid of death, and instead, he feels very disillusioned with his own life. His character is defined by a struggle for freedom against his oppressors as he searches for his place in the world, which he eventually finds in Eiji. Ash is a capable brawler who can fend off multiple attackers at once with little effort when he is unarmed. He is also very talented at close-quarter combat, and he is an even more deadly marksman. His sniper ability is so precise that he can perfectly shoot any target no matter the proximity. As Blanca taught him this, he is skilled in assassination, and he knows multiple forms of torture that would keep the victim alive. This makes him very alert, and he has avoided being killed by trained killers because of this. He thoroughly creates plans with his strong determination to fight alongside his men. He understands several fields, some of which include biochemistry, politics, and literature. Ash is often compared to a wild beast, which rears its head when Ash is angered, as this causes his deadliness to be at its peak. The anime begins with Ash walking down an alleyway in New York. This is interrupted by a man who's injured. He gives him a small bottle of banana fish and gives him an address. The man then dies, and Ash questions 2 nearby gang members, holding up a gun in his pocket. He hears that Golzine ordered them to do it, but before he can press them for more answers, police sirens can be heard, which causes them to flee. The next morning, Ash goes to Golzine's residence and spots Marvin outside. He commands Ash to call Dino Papa, but he refuses. Marvin then makes sexual advances towards Ash as he used to receive his videos, but Ash instead insults him and goes inside the mansion. He follows the guard to Dino's dining room and he insists on only discussing business with him and nothing else. He asks why Golzine had a hit on the man from the last night. Golzine informs him that he was a nobody, and Ash throws his breakfast on the floor as he's angry that a man was killed for no reason. His guards aim their guns at him, but Golzine insists that they lower their weapons. After he leaves Golzine's mansion, Ash meets up with Shorter, and the two talk about how he spent his morning at Golzine's place. Shorter shows worry for his best friend, and Ash shrugs it off, threatening that he'll go bald from worrying too much. Ash goes back to his apartment, where we are introduced to Skip. He informs Ash that the Japanese photographer and his assistant have arrived in New York, and even though Ash never did magazine interviews, but accepted this one as the cops would have to owe him. Skip then leaves, and Ash inspects the chain with a small bottle of banana fish when he discovers the drug inside the vial. He then visits his brother and asks him about banana fish. He doesn't say anything, and Ash collapses onto his knees and begs him to speak. Later, Ash visits Dr. Meredith and asks him to analyze a small sample of banana fish to see what type of drug it is. Ash is then summoned to Golzine's mansion, and he questions him on the drug, and he doesn't give him any information. He goes back to his apartment and immediately notices that the place has been ransacked even though nothing was out of place. He then takes Griffin to the doctor and reveals to him that he's his older brother. However, the doctor isn't able to help him but decides to take care of Griffin and help him recover. Ash then goes to the underground bar where he meets Ivy and Aishi, the photographers who came from Japan to interview him. They take pictures of him without showing his face. Then Aishi asks if he can hold his gun as he had never seen a real gun before. Ash accepts and allows him to hold the gun for a few moments. He receives a call from Shorter, who warns him that Arthur and his men have come to attack him. A bar fight breaks out, and Skip and Aishi hide behind the counter and use a secret escape route. They get captured by the men and drive off. Ash is able to shoot one of the men, but they escape with Skip and Aishi in tow. Shorter arrives on his motorcycle, and Ash gets on and quickly drives behind them. Arthur keeps Aishi and Skip captive, and Ash arrives at the site. And Ash gives up his gun to Arthur to save Skip and Aishi, but he gets punched and thrown inside the abandoned building. He is beaten up by Marvin, then tossed into the room where the two are being kept. Aishi offers to bandage his wounds with his shirt. Then Ash flirts with Marvin to distract him, and he attacks him, and the three attempt an escape. They get to a dead end, and Aishi uses his pole vaulting skills to get over the wall and find help. Aishi faints from blood loss as he fell into the glass on the other side of the wall and is taken to the hospital. Shorter arrives with the rest of Ash's men, and they begin their attack. Marvin shoots Skip, killing him. Ash chases Marvin but finds him dead in his apartment, and the police arrest him as they believe that he was a murderer. During his interrogation, the police show him one of the videos they have of him, which was in Marvin's possession as a motive for the murder, and he is taken to prison. Although the cop was working with Golzine, who wanted Ash in jail. Ash is put in a cell with Max, one of Griffin's friends from Iraq. Max gives Ash a tour of the prison, and he gets into a fight with another prisoner at lunch, causing him to be into a private cell. Ash allows him to get sexually assaulted in the library as he wanted to grab a tablet from the infirmary that he would use as part of his plan to retrieve banana fish. Max is shocked that Ash knows what banana fish, and he discovers that he and Griffin were good friends. Ash gets angry at Max as he knew that he was his only friend and the two get into a fight. The next day, Ash talks to Aishi, who came to visit him, and ends the visit with an affectionate kiss. Aishi then goes to the bathroom and pulls a tablet out of his mouth, which has a small note from Ash telling him to find Shorter than the doctor. He finds Shorter's family restaurant in Chinatown but cannot find Shorter, and he instead meets Chang, who informs him that he hasn't seen Shorter. That night, Max gets flashbacks of Griffin and starts to strangle Ash, believing that he was Griffin. Max then apologizes and decides to change cells. Aishi goes to the doctor but is caught by Arthur's men. Ash gets into a fight with his new cellmate Bull and defeats him. Max compliments Ash, saying that the other prisoners will acknowledge his skills, but Ash informs him that he doesn't care about what other people think and he goes off. Max speaks with his lawyer about his bail and tries to bring Ash along, but he refuses. Garvey and his men ambush Ash and they beat him up. Ash takes out a fork he got from the cafeteria, and Max comes in and yells out that something happened to Griffin, but he hadn't told him the exact news yet. After the fight, he tells him that Griffin is dead, and Ash punches him. At night, the two talk about the war and banana fish. In the next episode, Ash agrees to the bail and is released from prison. Ash pretends that he doesn't know about Griffin's death, and he and Aishi drive away from Charlie and Ebe. They go to Chinatown, and Ash realizes that they're being followed, but Shorter and his men get them out of the situation. They agree to work together as Arthur has killed a lot of their men. Ash insists for Aishi to go back to safety, but he stands his ground, not wanting to leave his side. The next day, Ash wakes up Aishi by pointing a gun at him, and he gives it to him so he can protect himself. Ash then meets up with Li Wang Lung to discuss how they could defeat Golzine, although Li is actually on Golzine's side. Ash then tells Shorter and Aishi about Club Cod, where Golzine's sex trafficking ring is located. They plan to kill Dino, and Shorter and AG drive in a truck while Ash stands on the van, holding up his gun. Ash gets shot and misses when he attempts to shoot Golzine. Ash jumps off the truck and is able to escape with the others by jumping into the water below. Ash is about to wander off but is knocked out by Max, and they take him back to their base, where he informs Ash that they will travel to Cape Cod. Ash later sits on the roof and cries over Griffin's death. The next day, they arrive at Ash's hometown, and they go to a diner where we meet Jennifer and Ash's father. While Jennifer is pleased to see him, his dad couldn't care less and gives him the keys to Ash and Griffin's old home. They look for clues and find a picture of Abraham Dawson. The next morning, Ash shoots bottles, which wakes up AG, and he teaches him how to shoot a gun. That night, AG goes looking for Ash along with Shorter and spots Ash standing outside the diner. He calls out to him, and gunshots aim in their direction. Golzine's men hold Jennifer and Jim captive but are both shot when they try to trick him. For once, Ash's dad shows pride in his son, and Ash tells him not to die, and they quickly escape. By the end of episode 6, they reach LA. They first go to Jessica's house as it is Max's son's birthday. They then arrive at the address from the dead man from episode 1 and find the adopted son of Alexis Dawson. Ash sits in front of the computer to find information on Banana Fish and immediately notices Yut Lung approaching even though his footsteps were hushed. Ash informs him that he doesn't like being approached from behind, but doesn't react when AG does the same thing and the two high-five. The others gather around the screen and discover that Banana Fish is a drug. At sunset, Ash talks to AG about going back to Japan as they live in different worlds. He then takes shots of whiskey with Max and discusses with him how they will defeat Dino when they go back to New York. Max gets a call from Golzine's men, telling him that he had to bring Ash alive, holding Jessica and Michael hostage. He goes with Max and tells Shorter to take care of AG. Max finds his family and is relieved when he sees that they are safe. Ash talks to Michael and discovers that the Chinese gang were the ones behind the attack. They go back to Dawson's house and find Shunichi on the floor with the others missing. He tells them where they went, and Ash hears a noise, which ends up being Alexis Dawson himself. He shows them a hidden room and explains how Banana Fish was created. He compares the drug's effect to LSD and how it puts the user in a nightmare-like state. Ash pins him to a wall in anger, and Alexis tells him that he was going to get rid of it, but changed his mind as it would be revolutionary for the science world. Ash goes to punch him, but Max stops him and punches him instead. Golzine's men arrive and take them hostage, burning the evidence. They are taken to Golzine's mansion in New York and have dinner with him. He dresses up Ash in a suit and styles his hair to the side while also piercing one of his ears with an emerald earring. They then discover why they were summoned to his mansion as Ash's arms are put in chains. Shorter is escorted into the room as well as AG, which causes him to go into a frenzy and attack him. At some point during the scuffle, he goes over to Ash and begs him to kill him. Ash is forced to shoot Shorter to protect AG, killing him immediately. He once again loses one of the only people he loves. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials have got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at the We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye!